Oh, okay.
So we're starting from now.
Yes, we're starting from this.
Hi, from this point forward. Okay. Hi, good evening. My name is Amanda Moyer,
And I'm Mia. And
and this is our presentation for our group project for part 4 when we are discussing the similarities and differences between Home Depot and Lowe's when it comes to their user website and experience. So first off, looking over the data that we collected in our detailed reports, um, they both had some similarities when it came to how users were experiencing the websites. And there we can see some trends here in the chart on the right. But overarchingly, between our 4 participants, there was one outlier in age, but most of them were in their mid 20s. Half of them were male and half of them were female when it came to our users. All of our users own a computer and have high speed internet, so they're very familiar with computers and websites and how they're used. Most of these users do consider themselves self taught, but some of them have actually learned in a professional setting or from friends or from family. But most of them would consider themselves self taught when it came to computers and the internet. Um, and almost all the users did connect at home, but additionally, people did connect at outside locations, including schools, the library, or even other locations like coffee shops, friends' houses. Overall, all our users are familiar with websites. Um, in a detailed report for the internet usage, we see that these users have used the internet daily over the last 3 years. All 4 users answered the same on that one. And all of our users do have experience when it comes to purchasing items via the internet, with 75% of them purchasing more than 10 things over the last year, and a quarter of them buying 2 to 4 things. So, still several purchases for every single person. Um, and the last point of note is talking about when it came to if they purchased similar items on the internet. And again, all the users have 25% have only done it 1 to 2 times, 25% done it 5 to 6, and the bulk of our people, 50%, have purchased things more than 10 times on the internet,
and that
which
could
I think
have to
overall
do
for
with
us,
age, right?
pardon?
That
I
could have
think
to do with
definitely.
age too, like we're all on our Instacart regular shopping motives.
Exactly.
Perhaps the outlier showed differences in the testing. So it's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um, I think age really did have a play in it.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
100%.
And then when it came to testing information, we tested our users utilizing a Google form. We found that just to be the easiest way to connect with people, especially since we're into virtual masters. So for us to find people to fill this out, it had to do with virtual engagement. Um,
Right.
and so
A usable form to fill out that
yes,
was easy, right?
exactly, super easy. So Home Depot, Lowe's, we have some photos here on the right hand side that talk more about it. Um, all of our users interacted with the Google form, and this methodology allowed for not only ease in distribution, but also ease for us on the collecting side of data because it was all stored in one place and it was also easily downloadable into an Excel type document. Users took both questionnaires, and we did ask them to not do them immediately back to back. We also were not engaged or there as they were
Right.
taking it to try to engage, no, to ensure that there was no biasy from us, that Mia and I weren't like looking over their shoulder being like,
Right.
hey, it's actually
Yeah,
right there,
so
click right
that's
there.
something to consider with our reports too, right? So we're just trusting that they took this form and that it was easy for them and that they followed our instructions to a T. There were some cases where my respondents actually needed help with the form, and so at least I was able to engage them that way and kind of show them. And funny enough, I I'm not supposed to, but I know one of the outliers, and they would contact me like, "Hey, how do I answer these questions?" Things like that. So a little bit of engagement, but not too much, like Amanda said, because they're virtual forms. So they just took them when they had the time
Yeah,
after taking the questionnaire. So let's move
exactly. So
on.
I do think that impacted a little bit of how we collected the forms. It's something I think,
100%.
like Mia said, to keep in mind, that even the fact that we're judging usability of websites, but we use another website to collect the form,
Right.
that overall we thought that'd be easier.
Yeah, for people and also like for us, like Amanda said, it was
Mhm.
easier to view the form and collect all the responses and actually see them as a whole. For me, that it really put things into perspective as to who liked which website more and why. So now we're gonna talk about the
100%.
results.
Yes, we're all dying to know.
Right.
What will it be? So, this first page kind of shows the combined view from both Home Depot and Lowe's, what the users said. And we're able to see some trends here, especially when it came to the ranges. So we see that users are comfortable overall with the intention to utilize sites with the
Mhm.
intended purpose as the max. The minimum was 5 and the max was 7. And there was not a large standard deviation there. So
No,
people kind of knew what they were getting into when they logged on to these sites
right.
and what they were looking at. This also is due to the fact that both Lowe's and Home Depot are pretty well-known
Right.
entities. I
It
think
is,
we kinda all
yeah.
grew up knowing about them.
Right, they're always like the competing brands for like your home
Mhm.
care, right? So it was really
Exactly.
good to it was like a good control, like choosing that one niche to show us these
Mhm.
results. But yeah, I mean, it feels like these results were, I mean, I kind of found the perceived utility of the website, since that was like one of our higher ones, obviously, than the intention. It's like when we get later, I guess I'm getting excited to talk about it later, when people were looking at what kind of projects they wanted to use, you could see
Mhm.
that a lot of them were similar too. So I think that plays into to this number. I'm not sure if it's when it's recording it sees that I circle, but yeah.
It's okay.
There's
It'll
lots of
work out.
things that we can fix.
But kind of on that, we see a larger deviation when, looking at a couple of these other ones when it came to the perceived ease of learning and also the products and services. Um, and so some of these we can see trends as we move on to the next one that is specific mostly to, I think the first one is Home Depot on the next slide.
Yeah. Mhm.
The next slide, yeah, this Home Depot. Basically, we see that we're getting ones, which is the lowest and the maximum for the perceived ease of learning and the
Right.
services offered. Which, when we talked about it, it wasn't just about the ease of the website, especially for that second one, service offered. Um, it's a niche market. Not
Right.
everybody is doing home improvement things. Not everybody needs landscaping materials, and so some people might not find these websites at all useful. Like my sister lives in an apartment; she has no need to think about
Right.
if her drain's working. She calls the landlord. She doesn't have landscaping. So that's kind of something to think about when we're looking at these, that this is a niche market.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, I mean, and a
but we
lot
do
of you have to think too, a lot of people, like you said, they're not doing home renovations. A lot of people don't have the need to do it. And what's cool about it is that not everybody, like when you look at some of the questions that we asked, like about a drill, not a lot of people have, interest in buying a drill, but it's just
Mhm.
something to kind of like spark the idea, like why would they use it? But also something to mention that, like Amanda was saying, this is very niche. A lot of these places also do contracting services as well for people who, maybe they don't want to do the home improvement, but they're trying to reach a larger market that way. So
Mhm.
we can move on
Um,
to Lowe's. I guess we can
and
see
then
what.
the last thing I wanna point
Oh,
out here,
sorry.
this is the only one that we had that had the both minimum and the maximum of a 7. So the
Right.
mean was 7, and there was no standard deviation, which I thought
Right.
was interesting because,
Mhm.
we saw it as one of the lower ones in the mixed bag, and so if Home Depot has a 7 and a 7, when we move to Lowe's on the next page, we
Mhm.
see that the big, overarching change comes from the fact that they found Lowe's to be there's less of intention. So it's interesting just to see also that we know that in certain areas of the country and certain geographies, one of these stores is more popular than the other. And
Right.
so there's things like growing up where like I'm like, oh, I'm gonna go to Lowe's, and I go, why would you go to Lowe's? Go to Home Depot. It's cheaper, or there's other affiliations. So that also is something to keep in mind that both of these stores have reputations outside of just buying some dirt or buying lumber. Um, so looking at this
Right.
one, it's very similar to the Home Depot one outside of that one, where they're all pretty in line with the overall arching one, and the standard deviations don't seem to be bigger than 1. Um, which kinda moves on to our next one, which, me as gonna take
Yes.
the
Let's
lead
take it.
on, which
I'm
talks
gonna
more
take
about
over here now.
yeah, take over here. Which site is more user-friendly? What do we think
So
of this?
I actually I had fun with this because, okay, so let's just like try and compare and contrast. This is where it gets a little more fun and maybe not so many stats, like actually looking at the layouts of the websites and the bars and how people would actually search things up. So this is like more the different way, but I guess this is the part